Eric Singer, engineer, inventor, the brains behind SingerBots, which
Yes.
are robots that play musical instruments.
More so, actually, they are robots that are musical instruments.
Oh,
Because when you say robots that play musical instruments, people think of Chuck E. Cheese.
yeah.
Teddy bears playing the banjo.
Right,
things like that.
right. So you must look at like Country Bear Jamboree and think to yourself, amateurs.
Well, I mean, it's from the beginning, it is not the approach that I've ever wanted to take. I wanted to create new kinds of musical instruments. And that's evolved, and I've relaxed that somewhat because I've had people come to me for commissions who wanted particular kinds of instruments, drums and percussion, band instruments, and mallets, those kinds of things. But the first instrument that I created, and this is one string out of what are usually four, this is a string from the Guitar Bot, and it doesn't look like a guitar, and it doesn't look like a robot, so I have a lot of nerve calling it a musical robot anyway. But it plays by sliding back and forth. It's different from any guitar, and it's different from the way any person plays. So there you go, it's a new way of making music.
And you have an extensive background in art and music, so this is a beautiful way to blend the the technological know-how with the engineering with art, really, in a way.
Yeah, it is. I did not call myself an artist for a long time until my group, which we can go into in a little bit. When we started showing our work in galleries and museums, I went, I guess I'm an artist now as well. So I'm an artist, I'm a musician, I'm a programmer, I'm an engineer. I'm a bunch of different kinds of engineers, things that I've had to learn along the way. I'm sort of the worst, most horrible kind of DIY guy who just has to do everything himself.
Well, that is DIY, right? So that would probably make you the greatest DIY guy, wouldn't it?
Yes, though I have learned over the years, and I've kind of taught myself to incorporate other people into the work. And even from the beginning, when I started Lemur, which is the group that I started in 2000 to create robotic musical instruments, I was bringing other artists and other technologists and musicians and people under the fold and incorporating their ideas.
Where do you begin with a SingerBot, and what's the process of making one? I mean, let's take Guitar Bot, for example,
Right.
because we have a piece of him, is it appropriate to say, here in front of us?
Him, her, it. Various people have called it different things. It depends on if you want to anthropomorphize it. Always sort of had this idea in my mind of like an automated guitar, and I don't know why. The first musical instrument that I ever made, like a lot of kids did, was a shoebox guitar. You take the shoebox, you cut a hole in it, you make a little bridge out of cardboard, you stretch the rubber band across, and din 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 din. So it's a sort of funny coming full circle thing.
Come a long way from that shoebox guitar.
Right. And I thought, well, robotic slide to control the pitch, that might be cool, and let's see if we can do that. And I really had no idea where to start. When I founded the group in 2000 in Brooklyn, I gathered a bunch of people together. I really went around to a bunch of my friends and colleagues, and I said, hey, do you want to make musical robots? And a bunch of them said yes.
Wow, cool friends.
And yeah, I had a lot of cool friends in New York, a lot of great artists.
And now, SingerBots are getting all around the world, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Is it primarily through commission work, or
Yes, it has been. In the earlier days of Lemur, we were kind of doing everything. We were doing museum installations. We were doing live performances with various musicians. Some up and coming, some well known.
So like a duet between a musician and a SingerBot?
Yes, though it was a lemur bot, back
sure,
then. So yes, in fact, you can find video of one of the early duets. I mentioned Mari Kimura before. She wrote a duet for violin and guitar bot, and one of the things that was unique about this piece is that it was actually mostly software that was mitigating the process of this duet. So she had written not just music to the piece for the violin, but software that would listen to the violin, the computer doing a listening process, analyze what she was doing, and then make the guitar bot react to that.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't just copying her playing exactly what she was doing. There were certain rules. So if she played perhaps long notes, it might play high notes. If she played short notes, it might play low notes, or it might slide back and forth. There are a whole lot of different rules and different progressions of rules throughout the piece.
So it was sort of spontaneous, from the guitar bot's point of view, because everything it was doing was based off her, rather than it being programmed from the get-go to play this note at this time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you call interactive music. And back then, you could say, oh, I do interactive art, and it meant something very specific. And now if you say I do interactive art, it could mean that you design web pages. But, back then it meant something very specific, and what it meant was computer mitigated interaction between humans and musical instruments, video, synthesizers, all of that sort of stuff.
So now there is, or will be shortly, a SingerBot that will be essentially the opening act at the Lido in Paris, one of the most famous entertainment nightclubs in Paris. Is this true?
Yes. And in fact, what it is, and what I call it, because I see it as a natural progression of sort of what past work, what the history of the art has been, is I call it an orchestrion. An orchestrions, people started building them in the 1800s, kind of in earnest, but certainly automated instruments have existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, orchestrions became popular in the 1800s, and they were sort of very elaborate player pianos, but they had other types of instruments. So you would have that piano reel kind of thing, and you'd have all of these mechanical instruments. So now, what is an orchestrion? It's a roboticized set of musical instruments. So the orchestrion, the Lido orchestrion, as I call it, is a collection of about 40 to 50 different instruments. It actually has about 150 mechanisms that could possibly play at the same time, though that would be somewhat cacophonous. But the mechanism count gets very high because there are 4 xylophones, different types of xylophones in this orchestrion, and every note on every xylophone has its own mechanism. And then there are drums and cymbals and shakers and exotic percussion, Latin percussion, all of those kinds of things.
So not only something to listen to, but something to watch. I imagine seeing this on a stage is pretty incredible.
Absolutely. There's that cool factor. There's the visual factor. It's visual art as well as sound art and music. And I don't deny that there's this whizzy factor to it, but I'll also say that it's a lot more interesting to watch these instruments play than to watch the back of the glowing icon logo on the back of someone's computer while they type of performance.
Right, and it's hard to dazzle us now, but this really takes it to a whole new level, to the fact that, I mean, this is the opening act. I mean, it's not a comedian or a dancer, it's an orchestrion.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lido, and boom, curtain goes up, and there's this thing on stage, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And because it is really it's a collection of musical instruments, it's a tableau, it's a blank slate, really. It can play anything that's composed for it.
Does it take requests?
If someone has written the music for the request, yes, certainly. The composers at the Lido are going to be writing 100 songs for it over the next 10 years.
That's right. It got a 10-year contract at the Lido to be the opening act at the Lido for 10 years. I don't think Bette Midler even got that in Vegas.
In fact, they had the coolest thing that I've ever seen in a 5-gallon bucket. There was a bucket sitting in the shop, and on the side of it, it said Lunar Simulant. And they were making chord drills for the moon.
You know, that's amazing, because I was going to ask you, what's the most amazing thing you've ever seen in a 5-gallon bucket? Unbelievably, you beat me to it.
I anticipated that question. Just, experimenting and building things on machines that I had never seen before, had no idea what they were, things like milling machines.
Mm-hmm. Was that what that is? I thought that was to make cappuccino.
I'm not just selling a product. I'm not selling the same thing. I'm selling more of a service. It's like, hey, buddy, you want some musical robots, right? Usually it's...
like somebody opens a big trench coat and there they all are.
Right.
What is it like for you when you complete something like that and switch it on? I mean, I replace a lighting fixture and I feel like a god.